How's everybody doing today? Joseph Murphy. We're going to go ahead and get the commission meeting started for today. Welcome, everyone. I believe, Mr. Harry, are you appearing virtually online, Mr. Harry Alexander?
Can you hear me? I'm online.
Yes, sir, we can. Also, Mr. John Crowley, city engineer, is also appearing virtually. Mr. John, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. All right, let's get started for today. Let's see. Welcome to those joining us virtually. All right, so the agenda for October, can we go ahead and get a motion to approve the agenda?
There's no changes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
It is approved. Thank you, Mr. Harry. Did you get Harry's aye? Okay, the minutes from the September 9th, 2024 meeting. Are there any changes to the minutes by the planning department or from the commission?
No.
All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
All right, thank you. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Harry?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Harry. All right, Mr. Ben, did you have a discussion?
Yeah, the date for the November meeting. So our next meeting, November 11th, actually falls on Monday, which is actually Veterans Day on the 11th. And so we are proposing to reschedule the meeting to the following day, Tuesday, November the 12th, 5 p.m. And wanted to check and see if that works with y'all's calendar.
Do we need to go ahead and vote on that today?
Yeah, sir?
Do we need to go ahead and vote on that today?
If it's okay with you, then yeah, I think make a motion and second, we'll move that meeting.
Is there a motion to move the meeting from Monday to the following day, Tuesday?
I'll make a motion to move it to the November 12th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Harry?
Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
And there's no staff report.
Perfect. All right. Next, we've got, I think, 5 items for administrative approvals. All those have been approved. There's no need to discuss. The consent agenda, I believe, was postponed. Yes, so that brings us to our public hearings. First, we have case number 3141, FCB Bank. And Ms. Kate's got that.
Okay, so for case number 3141, the applicant seeks approval for a special exception for the build-to line at the north side of the property. The subject property fronts Grand Oaks Boulevard and is located between Highway 7 and Barron Street. The property is zoned SCO. It measures around 1.43 acres. The applicant proposes 2 commercial buildings, 2,400 square foot bank and a 6,000 square foot commercial building. And the site plan for this project we'll hear next. Is case number 3128. The request is to exceed the maximum build-to line of 58 feet on the north side. You'll note that the proposed plans show the build-to line at a maximum of 30 feet, when the zoning district actually allows for between 15 feet and 58 feet. So the proposed setback would be approximately 4 feet in excess of the requirement on the north side. A build-to line maximum of up to 150 feet is allowed by special exception in this zoning district. The applicant notes in their application that there's a commercial building to the east that's set further back than the proposed building, and that across Grand Oaks Boulevard, there are rental units with parking in the front that are also set back from the street. So this pattern of development is typical for other office buildings in the vicinity. Staff sees the merit of this request, is recommending the approval of the special exception with 3 conditions. And Jeff Williams is here on behalf of the applicant. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Kate. All right, is there any questions or comments from the commission? Mr. Harry, do you have any questions or comments for case number 3141?
No, I do not.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the audience here in the room with us or those joining us online? Okay. Hearing none, I will put this up for a motion. Is there a motion on case number 314?
Yeah, I'll move to approve, subject to the 3 staff conditions.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, subject to the 3 staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Harry. All right, that moves us to case number 3128, also related to the same property. This is a request for a site plan approval.
Yes, so as Joseph noted, this is for the same property, Grand Oaks Boulevard. Property zone suburban corridor. Again, the applicant proposes 2 commercial buildings, a 2,400 square foot bank and a 6,000 square foot commercial building, the use of which is not yet specified. The proposal complies with the density limitations of the site. The proposed parking is sufficient for the site according to the requirements of the code. Coverage in this zoning district is allowed up to 80% and 65.8% is proposed. The landscaping and tree mitigation proposed meets with the land development code standards, as well as the building height and materials. Primary materials include stucco, some metal paneling that's decorative, and sunshades. The engineering department provided comment on water and sewer and stormwater management, and staff is recommending approval of the site plan with 7 conditions.
Thank you, Kate. Is there any questions or comments from the commission? Mr. Harry, do you have any questions or comments for site plan for case 312?
No, I do not. I'm good.
Did somebody say I do? Okay, questions or comments from those in attendance today or those joining us online? Hearing none. Is there a motion on case 3128?
Motion to approve the 7 staff conditions.
Second.
All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Was that?
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Harry. It is approved. All right. That case takes us to case number 3142. Greg Gowans filed a request for a variance regarding the retaining walls. And when you're ready, go ahead.
The subject property is located on Morris Drive in the Grand Oaks subdivision. The property is around .90 acres and is zoned estate residential. Proposed plans include a new single-family home to be constructed on the lot, and the applicant seeks this retaining wall variance to allow for that construction. According to Land Development Code and all developments of single-family detached dwellings, retaining walls in a side or rear yard shall not exceed 6 feet in height, and when located in a front yard shall not exceed 4 feet in height. The proposal includes 4 walls that would exceed that maximum at 6 feet, 12 feet, and 11.1 feet. The applicant provided extensive comments, which were included with your report, illustrating the challenges of the site. They include the existing natural topography of the lot, proximity to the public sewer easement, the positioning of the subject property between a lot with much higher elevation than the subject property, and the location of the common open space regional detention pond on the other side. A variance request may be granted when special conditions exist that are peculiar to the land that do not apply to other lands or structures in the same district under the terms of the ordinance. Staff finds that the unique nature of the lot, particularly the challenges associated with the neighboring properties, are a supportable hardship. So staff is recommending approval of the variance with the condition that approval is for the plan as submitted. And John Granberry is the engineer for the project, and he's on the line virtually if anyone has questions for him.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, questions from the commissioners up here? Mr. Harry, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Mr. Granberry, can you hear us?
I can.
I know one neighbor is a detention bond, so that's obviously, I think they're good with this, but what about, there's an actual person on the other side, is that right?
There is.
Have they opposed, have they commented at all on this plan?
Yeah, so they were initially working with JW and the owner of the lot for an easement, and we had worked through what we thought was a grading plan for their lot, and then they ended up going ahead and pouring their slab at a higher elevation than was originally planned. But they are definitely amenable to working with us, allow us to grade onto their property to make sure that the drainage in between our retaining wall on our east side and their driveway, drains toward our property. So they have been in talks and met out there several times with their contractor.
Excellent, thank you. Has anybody had any negative comments about this, to your knowledge?
No, sir.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from those in attendance here or from those online? All right, I don't have any further questions. Is there a motion for case number 3142?
Move to approve the variance, subject to the one staff condition.
There's a motion to approve, subject to the one staff condition. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Mr. Harris?
Aye.
Thank you. Case number 3142 is approved for the variance for retaining wall. That brings us to case number 3143, site plan approval for the breakaway property. You've got that one too. Excellent.
The subject property is the site of an existing gas station on North Lamar Boulevard, measures around .603 acres. The proposed project would include demolition of that existing gas station to build a new 3-story building. The new building will house 7,256 square feet of commercial space on the ground floor, and then a combined 6 3-bedroom units located on the second and third floors. It complies with the density limitations of the site, and the proposed parking is sufficient for the site according to the requirements of the code. There are also, that includes 12 spaces that are on-street parking in North Lamar Boulevard. Coverage in the TMB is allowed up to 80%, and 79.7% is proposed. The landscaping package that's been provided meets the land development code standards, as well as the proposed building height and materials, which include brick veneer, fiber cement siding, and aluminum storefronts, all acceptable according to the requirements of the code. Sidewalks are provided along the front of the building, as well as in between the on-street parking and the entrance, and will connect along the north side of the building. Cross-access to the property to the north of the site is provided through a shared access agreement with the neighboring property owner. Engineering provided comment related to water and sewer and stormwater management, and staff is recommending approval of the site plan with 7 listed conditions. And then Joey Moore is here on behalf of the applicant, if we have questions for him.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions from up here? Comments? Mr. Harry, do you have any questions or comments? Case number 3143?
No, just that I think the building's a good-looking building. I think it'll be very complimentary to the neighborhood.
Thank you. Any questions from up here? Any questions or comments from those in attendance today or those with us online? Hearing none, is there a motion for case number 3143 for site plan approval?
I make a motion we approve with the 7 staff conditions.
There's a motion to approve, subject to the 7 stated staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. What was that, Mr. Harry?
Yes.
Thank you. It is approved. That brings us to case number 3144, The Grove.
Yeah, this is a special exception as provided in section 2.6.7 for ground floor residential. The property measures just over an acre in area. It's located in the northwest corner of the recently constructed roundabout on Molly Bar and Chickasaw Road. Property is zoned traditional neighborhood business and it's undeveloped. The applicant is seeking a special exception as provided in section 2.6.7 to allow ground floor residential at this location. The applicant believes that this property is unique because of the significant elevation difference between the site and Molly Bar Road. The site's approximately 14 feet below the Molly Bar Road roundabout, and the applicant believes that the elevation difference makes this site, it presents a significant hardship for a business to thrive at this location. The application also notes that the site is adjacent to multifamily portions of Rowendale, and that their proposal would be in better harmony with that with the area than a commercial business. The proposal indicates 2 3-story buildings, like one constructed in Savannah Square on Pleasant Drive. Building 1 incorporates all 2-bedroom units, while Building 2 has 2 3-bedroom units on both ends of the building with 2 1-bedroom units in the middle per floor. The proposal complies with the density limitations of 42 bedrooms. The plan provided with this application includes a total of, it actually indicates that a total of 50 parking spaces is required, and the proposal indicates 44 with this concept. Staff has provided a condition for parking so that it is, so that the parking is complied with, or at least the parking requirements are complied with as a condition of this special exception. The site plan has not been submitted for review by the Site Plan Review Committee, and it's likely that changes will be required to the proposal that's provided in this application. Staff does agree that the elevation difference of the property creates a challenge in marketing the property for commercial activity. Commercial uses that do not require visibility could potentially work at this location, but the property has sat vacant for many years due to the topography challenges at this location. It's also worth noting that there are many trees that are planted in the city right-of-way that would also contribute to the visibility issues of this location. Therefore, staff is supportive of the requested special exception with the 3 conditions listed in the staff report. Jay Evans is here and can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions from up here? Mr. Harry, you have any questions?
No, Joe, I'm need to recuse myself from this.
Okay. Let the record reflect, Mr. Harry Alexander has recused himself from case number 3144. Real quick, and this may be for Joey, but, and I guess to make clear, we do want the 50 parking spots, not 44. And so with approval of this, we are saying the 50 parking spots need to still be complied with. We're not making an exception.
We think that the application should comply with the parking requirements. So when we have the site plan, we'll evaluate what parking is actually required and make sure that this complies with it.
That was really all I had, because I noticed there was all 1 and 2 bedrooms, and I mean, there's gonna be 50 people there.
Yeah, I don't think that this is a final design. I think it's an initial concept of the design, and so I think that there's room to be able to, to work that out to make sure it has adequate parking.
Okay. That's all that I saw. All right, any questions from the audience or from those joining us online? This is again for case number 3144. We're doing an special exception for ground floor residential. All right, hearing no questions or comments, does anyone have a motion?
Move that we approve subject to the 3 staff conditions.
There's a motion to approve, subject to the 3 stated staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Mr. Harry? Oh, he recused himself. Excuse me. Okay, it is approved.
Thank you.
That moves us to case number 3145. This is for DB Homes, JP Corp. I have a request for a special exception for ground floor residential for the concourse.
All right, subject property is about 1.2 acre site on Old College Hill Road and was previously the site of King's Steakhouse. Applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story mixed-use building with commercial and residential on the ground floor and 2 stories of residential above. The use of residential on the ground floor is a special exception in the TNB district. Applicant states that the properties to the north and south are commercial, while the properties to the rear, which is the west side, are residential. The project proposes to keep the commercial frontage while having residential units at the rear to keep the harmony of the neighborhood. This small section of Old College Hill has limited traffic, so not building the full commercial potential of this lot makes sense. As long as sufficient parking is provided for the residential unit, staff has no objection to residential on the back half of the ground floor at this location, and staff recommends approval of the requested special exception with the condition that approval is for the plan as submitted. And Joey is here if you have questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Is there any questions for case number 3145, special exception for ground floor residential? All right. Mr. Harry, do you have any questions on the 3145 ground floor residential special exception?
I do not.
All right. Are there any questions for those, from those in the audience or from those joining us online? Case number 3145.
Everybody's scared to speak.
I think so.
Quiet lunch today.
We welcome the,
Different last week. Last month.
no problem there. Okay. Hearing no questions, is there a motion for case 3145?
Motion to approve the one staff condition.
There's a motion to approve subject to the one stated staff condition. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. It's approved. All right, 3146, same property, site plan approval. I think Ms. London, did you have the second? Sorry, not a female voice. Close. All right, Mr. Baxter.
All right, so as you said, same property, same location. Upper floor residential is allowed by right in the TNB, and applicant was just approved for their special exception for ground floor residential. As of now, commercial areas are proposed as shells with no specific uses proposed, and use will be reevaluated at the time of tenant build-out. The applicant has filed a special use for a mixed-use CID, and at the time the structure is proposed to be single ownership. If this changes in the future, a new CID application will be required. Each of the proposed residential units is proposed to 2 bedrooms, which will be 20 proposed units, so 40 required spaces plus 7 guest spaces. And then for the 4,700 square feet of commercial, 1 space is needed for every 200 square feet to account for the possibility of restaurant space, which will be 24 spaces. So that's a grand total of 71 spaces required. Applicant is only proposing 63, so that's 8 fewer than would be the minimum requirement. Waiver request has been made for a downward departure from the required minimum based on mixed-use nature of the development as allowed in section 4921. If y'all have any heartburn about that, discuss. TNB districts allow for 80% coverage, about 60% is proposed. TNB districts get a maximum height of 40 feet and 3 stories. Proposed structure will be 3 stories with a maximum height of 37 feet. Applicant has provided a landscaping package that indicates foundation plantings, parking lot trees, and required screening. Significant number of significant trees, a sufficient number of significant trees are being retained so that no mitigation trees are required for this proposal. And the proposed structure will have brick veneer as the primary facade material with glass storefront windows on the ground floor and black steel balconies for the 2nd and 3rd floors. And as always, separate approval will be required for signage. Engineering provided comments related to water and sewer and stormwater management, and staff recommends approval with the 6 conditions that are listed in your staff report. And Joey is here if y'all have questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Is there any questions Case for 3146, site plan approval. Mr. Harry, do you have any questions?
I do not.
I've got a quick, Mr. Crawley, what's the status with the stormwater management plan? Do you expect that to work itself out? And I guess, reason I ask about it, it looks like looks like it's gonna discharge on the west side of the property. It's not gonna get into the neighboring residential houses in that area. That's not gonna be a problem, is it?
No, sir. We have not approved the final plan yet, but we don't anticipate problems. But the code, if it's designed correctly, won't be a problem for those houses.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. John. Any questions or comments from those in the audience or those joining us online? Hearing none, is there a motion on case 3146 for the site plan approval?
I'd make a motion to approve, subject to the 6 staff conditions.
Not loading here. Is there 6 or there's 6?
6.
Okay. All right, there's a motion to approve, subject to the 6 stated staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, please vote aye. 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 Mr. Harry?
Aye. Aye.
It is approved unanimously. Thank you. All right. Case number 3148, Walker, they are requesting site plan approval for Chickasaw Creek. Mr. Baxter, all right.
Alrighty, subject property is a little over 5.5 acres on Chickasaw Road, north of the intersection with Chrisman, which is north of the new roundabouts. The existing property is largely undeveloped except for one single-family house and a barn. The applicant proposes to construct a residential common interest development of 35 attached and 12 detached units for a total of 153 bedrooms. Proposed mix of residential units is allowed in the neighborhood residential district. Over 25% of the structures are detached units, and of the attached units, less than 25% are 4-bedroom, with the rest of the attached and all of the detached being 3-bedroom. This proposal does require an RCID, which the applicant has applied for. Neighborhood residential allows up to 9 dwelling units an acre. Property would allow for up to 50, and the applicant has proposed 47, and required parking would be 156 spaces, while the applicant has proposed 170, which is within the 25% parking maximum allowance. They are good on coverage. Landscaping meets all standards required to frontage trees, parking lot trees, foundation and edge plantings, and thorough landscape around the stormwater detention pond. As for tree mitigation, we're still working on getting the finalized numbers for tree mitigation, but the landscape plan indicates 134 mitigation trees to be planted on site. If additional trees are needed, the applicant may plant those on site or pay into the tree escrow account. Architecture and building materials are going to be really similar to the attached units in South Grove, with primary facade materials being brick and siding. Engineering has comments related to water and sewer and stormwater management, and staff recommends approval with the 6 conditions that are in the staff report. And I believe Johnny is online if y'all have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Baxter. Okay, is there any discussion, questions regarding the site plan approval for case 3148, Chickasaw Creek?
They may want to change the location in the vicinity map. They have it at Sisk Avenue, but other than that, we're good.
Well, now we have to look and see what you're talking about.
It's just on the plans. They just pull it from old plans.
Are there any questions from, Mr. Harry, do you have any questions?
You know, the only question I have is, where is the detention pond? Is that on the bottom left-hand side?
That's where they're currently planning for it, Mr. Harry, yes.
Okay.
All right, now that I can see, so where are you asking, Mr. Harry? Bottom left? Is that?
The bottom left, page 7. Bottom left, page 7.
Is that gonna be big enough, Mr. John?
It's still under design right now. We have not approved it. But we did issue some comments at the last site plan review that we expect them to come back with shortly. But we don't anticipate a problem with the concept itself, even if what is shown may not be, per se accurate.
Okay.
Yes, this is Johnny with Precision. We don't see any problems meeting the volume requirements at the moment. That wasn't even one of the comments addressed back to us. So, and it may be a little hard to make out here, but the entire southern bay there at the bottom of the storm plan, that's all underground detention. So it's not small.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. My computer won't load here, but I think there was a comment about subject to staff condition, talking about the stormwater. Okay. All right, Mr. John, Mr. Crowley said he doesn't expect any issues, so that answers kind of what I was wondering about. Is there any other further questions or comments from those in the audience or those joining us online? Any more questions? Okay. All right. If there are no further questions or comments, is there a motion?
I would vote that we grant the site plan review as delivered with the conditions as stated by staff.
There's a
7
motion.
conditions, I believe. 6 conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. There's a motion to approve, subject to the 6 stated staff conditions for case 3148. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Mr. Harry?
Aye.
It is approved unanimously. That brings us to case number 3149. Blue Delta Capital has filed a request for a special exception as provided in 310-32B regarding a self-storage facility for property located on Ricky D. Britt. This case has some history with it. It came before the board most recently. A special exception was provided in November 2023, case number 3013, and then January 2024, final plat amendment for Greenpoint Commercial Subdivision. That's in January 2024. Case number 3029. All right, when you're ready, go ahead.
So as Joseph just took us through, the applicant seeks a special exception to allow for a climatized self-storage facility in a suburban corridor district. The proposal includes a one-story, 40 to 45,000 square foot climate-controlled facility. Nearby uses to the site include the Enterprise Rent-A-Car, a development of townhouses, a two-story office building with multiple businesses, an apartment complex, a gas station, and a car dealership. So it's quite a varied area. The special exception requirements for this use in this zoning district require 4 parking spaces near the leasing office, and 5 are proposed. Additionally, the measurements of the proposed site are appropriate based on the requirements of the code for a special exception in this area. The site was subdivided in January of 2024 to allow for the facility's location on this site. As Joseph mentioned, there was a 2-story self-storage building that was previously approved for this site and received a special exception, and then I believe went through site plan. Staff worked extensively with the project architect on that design in an attempt to mitigate the project's location next to residences, which neighbor the site. The applicant states in the special exception application that the building will be an attractive and appropriately sized brick and glass structure that will complement its neighbors. The soft white and warm gray exterior color palette was directly influenced by the neighbors, allowing the proposed structure to blend into the streetscape. While the footprint of the building remains the same as the previous proposal, the architectural detailing is significantly stripped back with the new building design. After discussion between the applicant and staff regarding this application, faux windows, which are herringbone brick and are a little bit recessed from the facade, and awnings were added to the north and south elevations. The building is a more traditional storage building than the previous design, which was compatible with the neighborhood. However, the requirements of the code for this special exception do not include specific architectural elements. It's simply something that the commission may consider with the residential uses near this development proposal. So if the commission finds that the proposed architecture is compatible with the character of the neighborhood, then staff recommends approval of the special exception with 4 conditions. The applicant is here. We have questions for them as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions or comments from the commission?
Okay.
Yeah, for Kate or for the applicant or for just individual? I've got a couple, but I'll leave the floor up.
Go ahead.
Mr. Harry, you have any questions or comments right now?
No, I do not.
All right. My, I guess, initial issue is that we approved one design and then now we're looking at something different. What happened to the initial design? Why was it so drastically changed? If the applicant has a spokesman. Yeah, you come up here, introduce yourself. Are you Mr. Kyle Swafford, is that?
Yes, sir.
Come up to the mic. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Cal Swafford, and I'm the lead sponsor on this development project for Blue Delta Capital.
Perfect.
Questions?
Yeah, what happened? Why did we go from the beautiful 2-story design that we originally approved to this?
The original 2-story design had a lot of technical aspects to it that slowly began to make it a bit more impractical. One of those being the drive-through function of the building, and it got to a point where it became cost prohibitive for the 2-story development at the way that it was being designed, and we thought that a 2-story also was a bit more, how can I say this, a bit more in the way of the neighborhood. We thought 1-story would be a little more aligned with the traditional heights that are also in the neighborhood with the other properties surrounding it. So we just felt that a 1-story facility in that location, given its distance from the main highway, was a bit more not only feasible but perhaps a sensible looking back. So that was the reason for the shift from 2-story to 1-story.
So, I mean, the Enterprise rental car right next door is 2-story, and then all those residentials are all 2 or 3-story.
That's correct. And as I told Mr. Cat, we also own the neighboring, basically 3.8 acres that we will eventually develop, hopefully, townhomes as well next to it.
I know you were just saying that it would fit better with a 1-story, but it would be the only 1-story around. How does it fit?
Well, we have no problem if we need to make the height a certain point, but when you added the second floor, it just became a difficult project to pull through from a financing perspective, from a logistics perspective, from a timeline perspective, and we thought that the shift from 1-story wouldn't be too detrimental while also keeping some of the charm from the existing design.
What did y'all keep from the existing design?
Well, when you had the second floor, you certainly could have more glass than you can with 1-story, right? Because you've lost a story, but we're adding glass around the front, The faux windows were on the original design. We're keeping the color scheme relatively the same, as well as the herringbone from the faux windows. Again, the original design had a drive-through that went through the middle of the building on the first floor that was kind of covered by the second floor. So some of the windows and stuff are being moved around because there's a wall there now, and, you know, you're not taking into account the need of that drive-through.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a drastic difference from what we have originally approved. That's my issue with it. I mean, I don't think we should approve it, you know, the way it looks. I mean, that looks good. This looks terrible. That's simply how I can put it. I mean, the people around them, if they've got to they want to keep the value of their properties, and I mean, something like this, I don't think would help it. I think it would hurt property values, right? I mean, you guys own the property right next door, right? I'm sure you have an interest, you know, in that vein as well, but that's my opinion. I don't know if the other commissioners have any comments or anything like that, but I would vote against it. Any questions?
Joe, I have one question.
Sure, Mr. Hare.
The pictures that we're looking at on page 712, it looks like a yellow brick with blue. I think I heard Kate mention that it was going to be the gray and black. Is that the picture in the center of those two, or at the bottom of that yellow building? Is that what it's going to look more like?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, there's an actual picture. I think he's asking is it gonna be this color, or is it gonna be this gray? I mean, that's black. I'm assuming that's some shade of gray.
It would be the color of the brick there, that's
Of
right.
the actual picture.
Of the actual brick. The way that the yellow is positioned in the PDF is because the PDF itself is white, so it's kind of got a cream coloring just to kind of see the materials, but we were gonna go with a white color brick, that's correct.
Okay, and so in one design that you have the center, I guess, where you could drive through it, but then on some of them you do not. Is that correct? Am I reading that wrong?
I think they completely got rid of the drive-through aspect. Is that right?
That's correct. You can drive alongside of the building and unload, and then there's a hang-off from the roof so that you can, you know, easily walk into the building, but there is no drive-through component. That's correct.
Okay. Because on page 11 of 12, is that not a drive-through between those two buildings?
Okay, I understand his question. So on page 11 and 12, I think that's the landscaping, I think. So what we were attempting to show there, is that correct? I'm not looking at the screen. That is correct?
You might be.
Okay, so the page 11 and 12, like you're referring to, the reason that is there is to demonstrate that the overall footprint of the building is staying relatively the same, and we were demonstrating what the landscaping could look like. That wasn't to be provided for anything about the building specifically, other than how the landscaping would generally not change materially from the original filing or the original application.
Okay,
I apologize for lack of clarity there.
no problem.
And there are just 4 parking spaces in the front and no other parking?
There's additional parking. I think what Ben was saying earlier was that was the amount that are needed in front of the leasing office. I don't, am I mistaken there?
I didn't say anything earlier.
I don't think we have an updated site plan.
Well, I mean, we still have to evaluate it, Kurt. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
it's the same footprint, and, you know, depending on the total square footage of the leasing space, that will ultimately drive the quantity of parking that's required for the site. You know, so it's something that we'll evaluate if y'all approve this special exception to move forward.
Yeah, I think the point of noting that and specifically.
Is there a different rule for a storage facility that allows trailers and, I noted that in the report, that couldn't store boats and other things outside? Are there different rules for those type storage spaces? Or, I mean, it really gets to like, what's to stop them from doing that?
We included that in there as a condition because it wasn't clear that there was adequate parking for like boats and that kind of thing. So that's why it was included.
We have no intention of RV or boat storage for the record, and we're totally fine with that condition.
Was this?
Yes, to answer your question, it does, it is specifically called out in the ordinance for this use, that use is not allowed to be outdoor storage for, boats and trailers and storage trailers and things like that, so.
Is this did you say this is the same footprint as the two-story one that we approved back a year ago?
It appears to be pretty comparable.
Minus the drive-through.
Minus the drive.
I think they were already in the process when we were working with them in the site plan process, we're moving the drive-through.
Okay.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
I got one more question. Is the height of the building not right at the front door where I see clean climate storage, but the rest of the building, is that building only 10 feet tall?
Yeah, to the top of the parapet, it's 17 feet, but to the roof line, the eave height, it's 10 feet. So I think as Kate's report noted, that it's more in line with a traditional storage facility.
So if you look on
I think,
page,
and I also think it's worth noting that the parapet, as it's indicated here, is only really on the front. It does kind of wrap around on the north and south facades, but then after that, it's just a traditional pitched roof.
so Mr. Harry, it's 17 feet on the maximum height, but then the rest of the building essentially is 10 feet. The parapet's on the front. And it just looks like a galvanized metal roof. And it's brick on the side, is that right?
Yes, sir.
White or off-white brick?
Yes, sir.
And then is it aluminum, like a metal storefront, aluminum storefront? What is that gonna look like?
It is.
So was there, you was talking about a while ago, like the reasons why y'all changed so much? I mean, talking about cost, everything like that. Was there any discussion about keeping the same design, just instead of being such a big footprint? Same number of units, right? Closer cost and just just shrinking the footprint, but keeping your original design?
Sure. So keeping the but coming in. We didn't consider that when we were looking to shift away from the difficulties that we saw with that as a whole. Some of that was the construction timing overall, and I don't know if necessarily shrinking it but still having the same vertical would have alleviated that. It would have certainly reduced it, but I don't know if it would have alleviated it as a whole. So to answer your question in part, but we thought going the one story was the easiest way to accommodate the change.
It's just a money decision, basically. The cost was too prohibitive, is that?
It was very cost prohibitive, but I wouldn't say that it was entirely driven by money.
Okay. All right.
So did y'all consider with the faux windows actually having some sort of windows that maybe were tinted so you couldn't see in from the outside versus bricking up the faux windows?
We did consider that, and we're still open to it. One of the one of the concerns that we had with having an actual, so the way that the floor plan is designed is the exterior walls are being used as the back part of anybody's unit, right? So if we were to add windows, we wanted them to be severely tinted so that the unit holder had privacy. There are ways that we can incorporate windows, certainly, and not even tint them and just kind of add a hallway either vertically or horizontally. So we figured out ways to do that and are more than happy to include actual windows if that's what the committee would like to see.
You can just have the wall behind the window.
I almost took a picture of this, and I wish I had, but basically, the way that the faux windows are, as you see them, are all 10 by 20 units, right? So if you cut one of those 10 by 20s in half, then you can have a 5-foot hallway that extends normally perpendicular, and then, you know, you have a 5-foot side of storage, 5-foot window, and then it looks into the hallway. So you could accommodate that on 2 points of each side. So having 4 total, or, you know, you could certainly do more if you wanted, but I figured 1 on each side of the halves made sense, but you could do that.
What's the cost impact on the, I mean, I'm just trying to spitball ways to kind of get back to the original design, but I mean, if you raise the parapet up, not quite the full, but, you know, just up a little bit, and then allowed you to have kind of the windows and all the look, you know, that I think everybody wants. Was it, I mean, Joe, do you know the impact of raising like the parapet to make it appear more?
Like 5 feet of parapet, something to that effect? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking, yeah.
I don't know what the impact of that would be, but I don't think that would be a material problem at all.
That would impact my decision. But anyway, all right, any further?
Questions. With the different design, was there a change in your security measures that you've had from compared to a second story to just a 1 story? Is it the same? And what are your security measures?
So apart from perhaps stairwells and elevator shafts, obviously, the security measures haven't changed because each design still had pinpoint sides on all sides that were either key fob, or maybe you input a pin number on a keypad that would allow you to enter the facility. So that part of it hasn't changed. So you still have your security measures there.
Cameras to be included?
Oh, absolutely. Security alarms, obviously I don't know that fire sprinklers are necessarily security, but, you know, yeah.
Is that what it says? All right, Mr. Harry, do you have any further questions or comments?
Now, the only, I guess, question I have is, if I'm reading that last paragraph before the recommendation, it looks to me like the staff had a lot of questions about the stripped-down architectural detailing, significantly different, and I guess I have those same questions.
I'm just gonna point up here so you can see it better. On the bottom picture, there's obviously I see the herringbone brick, but then in the middle, I can't really tell what that is. It's either a real window, it looks like it has shutters, I really can't even tell. That's not the picture I'm looking at, but that works.
This one?
The one you were just,
I think the one you were just at.
I'm on like the
Where
main
it says
picture.
aluminum storefront?
That elevation, but the middle window looks like it's either a real window or a shutter on either the left or right side of the
Right here.
entrance.
The picture I'm looking at is the very first picture. Keep going back up.
Oh, like at the top?
That one.
Yeah.
I can't tell what's going on in the middle there.
It's specified as aluminum storefront on the elevation. So I guess that means
That's correct.
And then the other two are bricked up.
Aluminum storefront windows. So is it glass or aluminum?
It would be glass.
Mr. Harry, what were you asking a while ago?
I guess my point is that if I'm looking at the discussion that the staff had apparently on the building, that last paragraph right before the recommendation says, while the footprint of the building remains the same, the architectural detailing is significantly stripped back with the new building design. And then as it goes into the recommendation, it says if the commission finds that the proposed architecture is compatible and maybe, as Kate mentioned in the beginning, that gray and black will soften it up. The yellow and blue just look pretty rough to me. And if I had a condo over there across the street, I'm not sure that's it's really positive look for the neighborhood, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. That's the same sentiment that I was trying to convey earlier as well. I'm at least concerned about the residential people that live around there, what they're going to come out and see as they pull out. And so Mr. Harry's talking about if the commission finds that the proposed is compatible with the character of the neighborhood. I don't think it is. I don't think it's compatible at all. I think it looks cheap. Because it is. All right. Further questions or comments from the audience or from those online or from the commission? If somebody else has a question or comment?
At this time, I'm happy to withdraw the application to take into account a lot of the feedback I've received here tonight and submit something that the committee thinks will align more with the characteristics and charms of the neighborhood.
Okay.
So you can table a request at the table, so then we can bring it back to the next meeting.
Okay. Yeah, so I'd like to table it if that's appropriate, and then reassess everything in November, the 12th, on Tuesday.
Okay. Okay. Let the record reflect that the applicant for case number 3149, there was an application for special exception regarding self-storage unit facility. Applicant has requested to withdraw and have this tabled, excuse me.
Sorry.
Tabled. And then is there a motion to table case number 3149 for the next November planning commission?
Motion to table.
Second.
3149.
Okay, there's a motion to table case number 3149. Mr. Harry, do you second?
I did.
Okay. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Okay, so case 3149 is tabled until the November planning commission. All right, Mr. Swafford. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, that brings us to case number 3150. Mr. Halford requests for preliminary plat approval for the Grove at Grand Oaks.
So the subject property, it's an undeveloped parcel located in the Grand Oaks Grand Oaks 2 planned unit development. Property measures about 5 acres. According to the PUD site data table, these 5 acres are located in parcel 23B. 23B was originally 9.9 acres, and it was allocated a total of 99 units to be constructed. In 2017, approximately 4.9 acres were subdivided and developed as the Cottages of Grand Oaks, which is a residential development consisting of 21 units. The remaining parcel in 23B is, or the remaining density is 78 units. In this instance, the applicant's proposing 8 single-family detached lots, similar to other phases of the Grove at Grand Oaks. Lots in the subdivision are proposed to be approximately a half acre in area. The site is located in an area of established pine trees, but the submitting engineer notes that all the pine trees are smaller than 24 inches in diameter. Mitigation is not required. The Land Development Code requires frontage trees to be installed every 50 feet for a large or 35 for a small tree. Then a note is included on the plat that the installation of these trees will be the responsibility of the lot owners. That's something that staff will evaluate as we receive building permits, and prior to the issuance of a CO, those will have to be installed. There is a common area that's indicated on the subdivision plat that requires the installation of frontage trees, and those will be the responsibility of the developer. A condition of approval is added to address that. Engineering did provide comments related to water and sewer and stormwater management, and staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat for the Grove at Grand Oaks Phase 6B with the following 8 conditions indicated in your staff report. Joey Moore is here and can answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mr. Ben. All right, are there any questions or comments related to the preliminary plat approval for 3150? Questions for the commissioner, or excuse me, city planner, Mr. Ben, or for the applicant? All right. Mr. Harry, do you have any questions or comments for this preliminary plat approval, 3150?
No.
All right, any questions or comments from the audience or those with us virtually? So what's the status on the, trying to get to it here. I thought there was mention about the lake they're gonna be building. Do they feel like they're gonna get, what is it now? All right, so all right, so the stormwater management plan is gonna be achieved by directed runoff to a proposed lake. So is this lake gonna happen? You feel good about it?
Yes.
Is that being approved? I mean,
Yes, Mr. Larry Britt has been back and forth with the Corps of Engineers over the last, 6 months, but he's almost there. We don't have the lake built yet, so in order for the city to approve the plan, we've got to put in a temporary pond, knowing that it's coming back. But from Mr. Larry, he's saying that the lake's going to be built, and I know the homes have been marketing as lakefront, so the lake better get built. We'll just put it that way, but yes. So that is, in all indications, the lake is getting built. He's just still in this lengthy permitting phase, but when I talked to him last week, he was expecting an answer any day now from him.
understood. And I know we've got the conditions to go along with it, but I was
Sure.
just curious with what you just said, that's what I need to know. I don't have any further questions, that was it that I saw, but questions or comments from up here? Mr. Harry, you have any questions or comments?
I do not.
Okay, I mean, that's all that I was worried about. If there's no further questions or comments from the audience here or those with us online, is there a motion regarding preliminary plat approval for 3150?
I'll make a motion to approve with the 8 staff conditions.
All right, there's a motion to approve, subject to the 8 stated staff conditions. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Mr. Harry?
Aye. Aye.
All right, preliminary plat approval is approved. That's case 3150. Last order of business, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lumley. All right, all those in favor, please vote aye. All right, we are adjourned.